everybody. Welcome to the Canine Connection podcast. So today, Lori and I, we're gonna talk about my super baby beginning steps and nose work. But it's also going to lead into reading your dogs, and I think that's something we're gonna build on. Probably,
Yeah.
I'm guessing for more than one episode. Because well, it's just very complicated. It's something that the vast majority of our students struggle with. We've talked about this. And recently someone contacted me someone that I respect and know, and that person was like, "Hey, guys really need to do a podcast on it. People
Yeah.
struggle on it." So first off, I said, "Well, I know that, but it's really hard to teach." Like, and for
Mhm.
me, I feel like it's this weird intuitive thing, but I'm like, it can't be. So I started spending a lot of time thinking about it. And I started thinking about, okay, like maybe we need to start brainstorming about how we can break it down into a way that people can kind of understand. So in the meantime, something interesting happened, which is I've started doing nose work with my dogs, right? And nose work is especially when you've done a bunch of different sports, where all of which what what the parameters are. So for example, if I do field work, I know where the birds are. It is a known. It's not a secret, it's not a surprise. Everybody knows where the birds will land. When you do agility, everybody sees the course, they do the same course, they walk the same course. They know what the rules are, they know where the contacts are. You run the course, you know if your dog failed or not, right? Same with obedience and rally. Nose work, completely different animal. You don't know where the hides are. And when you get to the higher levels, let's be clear, I've not gotten there. There are situations where there are no hides in the search area, and you must say, after the dog searches for a certain amount of time, you need to make a decision on your own and say, there are no more here. Or they'll say there could be 0 to 3 hides, and in any event, you need to be able to not just say, "My dog found it," you must also say, "There is nothing here." And you don't know the answer. So from someone that's come from all these predictable sports, holy cow, it is like, jumping into an ice cold pool because 'cause you're like,
Mhm.
"Whoa." And, like, even when I call alert and my dog is clear as day, like, "It's here," indicates it looks at me, I'm still like, "Alert?" 'Cause I don't know for sure. Um, so talk about a huge part of this whole teamwork scenario being you reading your dog, right? I realized when talking with some of my training partners and my friend yesterday, we talked about reading dogs. And it was kind of interesting because from something my friend, poor Carl said, right? But Carl's trying really hard,
Carl.
was his interpretation, which was a really good point. I realized something he said was that to him, reading a dog, and I'm sure he's not the only one, is this kind of almost like intangible, mythical thing. And what we actually talked about was, yeah, it's not that. It's data. It's collecting data, collecting evidence, and then drawing a conclusion based on the evidence.
Mhm.
So, for example, different dogs are going to be different. So when Zaina searches an area, to me, she's easy to read because she's very methodical. So as she covers an area, I can visually see she sniffed here. and she didn't give me any behavior showing odor. So therefore, when we move on, I feel comfortable saying that area was clear, right? And the data confirms that because um for the vast majority of time she is correct. Therefore, I can feel confident saying that when she sniffs an area and leaves it, if she leaves it, there is nothing there. Zesty, very different. He is like 8,000 miles an hour, looks like a bull in a china shop, dives into the search area and is going so fast, it makes my head spin. Like, because I have to keep track of where did he search, where didn't he search, and I'm trying to, like, read him, and everything's happening at lightning speed. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes, and this is very deceptive, sometimes I'm like, I don't even think he's sniffing, and then all of a sudden he runs, and I'm like, "He's not even sniffing," and he goes straight to a hide, and he's like, "It's here," and he's correct. So I'm
Mhm.
like, "Crap, I read that wrong." And sometimes he doesn't look like he's searching, and he's not searching. Sometimes I'm like, "Is he searching or not?" And sometimes he is, sometimes he's not. So it's very, to me, right now, confusing.
Right.
So I realized this last week on my own when I was, like, in the park, and I was like, "Oh god, I don't even know what the hell this dog's doing right now." I was like, "All right, Houston, we have a problem." Like, I need to isolate my ability to read the dog, right?
Mhm.
Separate from a trial, separate from in the moment doing a search, because, and I think this is a big problem people have, and we've talked about this a little bit, is when you, as the handler, are doing multiple things at once, you don't have enough brain space left to also read the dog, and especially not read them really fast and
Yeah.
rapid fire, or to
Yeah.
learn how to read them. If I
Yeah.
know how to read them, maybe, but not if I'm learning. Right. And we've talked about how in obedience and rally and pretty much every sport, you're thinking about so many things, you don't have enough bandwidth left. So
Yeah.
I realized last week, I was like, oh, I have to isolate this and work on this completely separately from searching. And I thought that was like a really great insight in the sense that, so now I talked to my friend about this yesterday who says, this is Carl, he says, I can't read the dog. I need help. So I said, I think that one thing you need to do is you need to work on that separate. You can't be quote unquote training your dog and learning how to read your dog.
Yeah, 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 yeah. This
So,
is a huge piece because I think this is really, hitting the nail on the coffin, so to speak, where people really, um, when you say, you need to learn to read the dog, it's, like, easier said than done because 2 pieces, like you just kinda talked about, is do you even know what you're looking for?
mhm.
Like, are you recognizing anything? And the difference between Zaina and Zesty is like you've sort of been able to recognize her easier because of the way she's searching, opposed to Zesty because he's a little bit not as methodical. So it's a little more difficult to recognize it. He might have multiple ways of doing it, which is even harder. So learning how to like, do you even know what you're looking for? Can you even recognize the behavior of reading the dog and the efficiency of doing so, right? Like that's a big piece. Like you just said, with somebody who's not quite really fluent in being able to read a dog, let alone their own dog. having to train the dog and also learn or try to read the dog, it's too difficult. Right? So that's
Right.
where I think that big struggle is. Like this is the big missing piece. And this is why like and I know you too, we've talked about this too, is I'm reading my dog in everyday life in every fucking scenario. Like I'm forced to do it, especially in my house because I live with 6 dogs now. I have to read them. I have to read to make sure like nothing bad happens to them. And then I read them when I'm hiking, I read them when I get them out of the car. Like, I'm constantly reading them when I'm not actively training them, which
Right.
gives
So
which is
that's where people get stuck though, right? So we say reading and they're like, "Well, what does that really mean?"
right, yep,
Right? So, and this is will align with the first thing which says, which do you even know what you're looking for? Because we don't. Like in search, I don't know.
yep,
Right? So, couple things. One is, what did I do? I came home, I immediately bought some webinars on how to clear a blank area. And they are and they're the person that, Stacy Barnett. It's a really good webinar. It's on her website,
yep,
and she's talking about, these are things they do and showing video of different dogs doing it. So that's good information for me. Now, again, I'm gonna have that does that mean my dog's gonna exhibit those same things? Maybe yes, maybe no, but at least it gives me some ideas. But basically, and this was a great comparison, and kudos to Carl for this one yesterday. 'Cause we're like, basically, it's you have to collect data, you have to look at what happened immediately
yep,
before and immediately after.
yep,
So, somehow we got talking about a baby because he said, "Oh, you mean like when you have an infant and they're crying and you don't know what they want, and you have to figure it out. Are they hungry? Are they tired? Are they
mhm,
sick? Do they have to go to the bathroom? How do you know? Well, it's not this magical, mystical thing. It's cause and effect. If I offer you food and you eat and you stop crying, oh, you were hungry. If you don't want to eat and oh, your diaper's getting dirty, well, that means you were crying that way because you had to go to the bathroom. Are neither of those things happening and you're still crying? Let me check. Do you have a fever? Oh, you have a fever. It, so you're looking at the data and you're coming to a conclusion based on A, ruling things out,
yep,
right? So, like in obedience, we were talking about did the dog act that way because it was distracted, because it was feeling pressure, because it was confused, because your handling was off? Let's say those are the things you're trying to rule out. Okay, well, add some distraction. Does the dog do the same thing? Take the distraction away. Does your dog not do it? Guess what? You can conclude it was distraction, right? So, in essence, quote unquote, reading is really more like gathering data and interpreting the data
yep,
based on what happens before and what happens after, cause and effect. So, back in the old days when we did a figure eight and we had human posts and the judge, so you're approaching three people. So Zeal would get really excited after his healing because he loved to heal and he was done. He's like, oh, and then I'd go, okay, we're doing a figure eight. And he didn't like all the people and the pressure. So I would approach the figure eight 100% of the time. I would sit him and say, we're doing the figure eight. He would yawn. Now, a lot of people will conclude he's yawning because he's stressed. He was not. How do I know that? Data. Because he would yawn and then as soon as the judge said forward, I better get the hell out of Dodge because he was shooting out of there like a rocket and he was happy and animated and bouncy and pouncy. So if he was stressed, he would not have healed like that. Right. So what I concluded was he was yawning like that to what he would yawn like that to kind of help him focus because he was like, I gotta focus, right? There's people here. This is hard. I was just excited. I gotta get my act together and I need to focus. Right. And so that's what that yawn meant for him. Now, I didn't read that because 'cause I'm a savant. I read that based on the evidence of what happened before. He was really excited. What happened? He yawned. He was a little bit calmer, but he was still energetic and happy, and so on. So I came to that conclusion based on the information, right? So that's why think where people have to start is A, they have to, videotape, right? Because in the moment, you're probably not gonna be able to do it. Then I suggested to Carl, "Go in your building, train your dog, but don't do anything complicated." The whole goal of what you're gonna do with the dog in that session is you're gonna record it, and you're gonna look at your dog, and you're gonna try to evaluate what your dog is thinking moment by moment as you go through some exercises, right? Like
Mhm.
some whatever training exercises.
Yeah.
And then anytime you're like, oh, I'm not sure, you can go back immediately afterwards, look at the videotape and go, I wasn't sure why he did this here. Rewind, look at what happened before, fast forward, look at what happened after, draw some conclusions, draw some theories, and then if you're not sure, I can look at it and I can help you figure it out. But at least now you're separately out of working just on evaluating the data so you can learn to read the dog. And if you do that routinely, if you separately say, this is what I'm going to work on, or if you look at trial videos and go, Why did my dog make that mistake? All right, let me see what happened like before the mistake happened. Because I say to my students all the time, I need to see what happened before. And there will be information there,
Mhm.
and then you're gonna learn over time, "Oh, every time my dog drops its head and pins its ears back, it's because a person's moving close to the dog and they don't like that."
Mhm.
And then things happen, right? So because you start to see a pattern, what happened before? What did my dog do when that happened? And then what resulted? Did the dog, fail after that or struggle or work well after that or whatever? Does any of this make sense?
Yeah, well, it does. It does, absolutely. I think, when we talk about or when you were just talking about, collecting the data and paying it, I wanna say when we're really talking about reading the dog, it really needs to be said, you need to be paying attention.
Mhm.
So, this is a big one, like, you can't like, you're gonna miss all the subtleties of your dog's behavior if you're not really 100% paying attention. Like, I'm, like, in my zone, else you'll miss it. Like, that's gotta just be said, and, it's I do believe that this skill is is easier for some people and not for others, not as easy for others. I think because of maybe level of just intuition, right? I would say I'm a pretty intuitive person. I'm constantly reading. I read like the vibe. I read the vibe when I walk in a room. I read the energy. And I'm not like, I'm not like
No,
this
I get it.
hippie
I'm the same
tree
way.
hugging person, but like
Yeah.
I would consider myself a pretty like I can especially if I know somebody, right? If you walked up to me and you were having a bad day, I could probably read that pretty quickly on you, like
Mhm.
without you even having to even say anything. Because I'm just that kind of person. I'm just reading all the time. I don't think that comes naturally to everybody. And let alone, sorry, Carl, but men especially, like,
Yeah.
like they don't pick up on fucking subtleties. Like, hello. Sometimes they're just clueless. And I'm not bashing you, Carl. But I think that that's a big piece. Like, you really do need to make that effort of, mindfully paying attention because you'll miss it. Some of it's not as blatant as when we just say,
No.
read your dog, and the dog's out there like, blatantly showing signs, sometimes they would be very easy to miss if you weren't really paying attention.
Yeah, so I think that's super important. That's why I'm starting to think that people need to work on this separately, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they can't work on it while they're actually um training their dog per se. Case and following up on what you said, like it's a power of observation, right? And
yeah,
some
yeah,
people are naturally always observing, reading the room. It's a skill. So let's just label it a skill, right?
yeah, yeah,
And then some people, just like any skill, are naturally better at some skills than others. Some
yeah,
people, because for whatever reason they're observing people all the time, they've gotten really good at that skill, right? So it's easier for them, but all skills we can improve upon.
yeah,
We just need to practice them more. So even if this is something you're weak at, if you say, "Okay, I'm going to work on this really hard," yeah, you'll get better at it, right? So that's, I think, how you should think about it as a
yeah.
skill. It's a skill you can improve. It's a skill, yes, it's easier for some people than others naturally, but everyone can be better at it. And even if you're not naturally that good at it, you can absolutely improve on it.
You
For
can, and
sure.
I think it's really important too, like, if you are struggling with that or you're not sure, then, if you can find somebody or some source to help you, have things pointed out even, like
Mhm.
you just said, like, I went home and bought a bunch of webinars so I could see what should I be looking for because I really don't know, and that can be super helpful.
Yeah, and it's helpful to look. Oh, God.
Blah, blah.
Holy Hannah, mouth just went south. Um, to observe other dogs, right, as well, because even if
Yeah,
it's different than your dog, it just hones your observation skills. And you must be really looking at that and at
yeah,
nothing else so that you can focus on that. So you have to dedicate time in whatever way, whether that is with video or and obviously eventually going to have to do it in real time, but you have to dedicate time just to work on that skill separately.
yes.
Now, initially, you have to give yourself grace too. So, I'll give you another example. So Carl's dog's running out to the article and then he and then he starts running around and chasing his tail. All right. So he's like, why is he doing that? So I'm like, well, we need to look at what happens before. So now he notices the dog, the behavior starting when the dog spins and chases his tail. What I'm saying to him is that behavior started much earlier,
Mhm.
right? You're just not seeing the signs leading to that bigger behavior.
Yep,
So
the
you need
subtle
to
behavior.
start looking backwards, and so I said, "Okay, so what right before he chased his tail, like, was he actually sniffing? Like, did he actually sniff?" "Well, no." "Okay, in before when he was running to the pile, did he run straight to the pile and immediately start sniffing?" "No." So now we're saying, so I'm moving further and further back because 'cause I'm like, "See, it started earlier and it started even earlier." So it turns out the behavior starts probably when he starts scenting the article, the dog's ears go back. That's when it's starting.
Yep,
Not when the dog's chasing its tail. So again, it's tracking the data backwards
yep,
because the correct behavior is ears up, happily do a pivot, run straight to the pile. Before you're even in the pile, their nose should already be going down and they should be starting to sniff like before they're even in the pile. Then
yep,
they should be sniffing the articles until they find the correct one and run back, right? So, looking at that backwards is what's gonna lead us back to the beginning, and that's gonna help you read, like, and then you're gonna find the source of where it started, and then we're gonna be able to work on it from there and so on. But what happens a lot of times is people see the big behavior, like, "My dog left me."
Yeah.
Dude, your dog knew it was leaving you and told you it was going to leave you well before it actually left. So what you need to do is say again, I need to backtrack before my dog left and start paying attention to the subtle signs like my dog's ears went back, their eyes dropped, their head dropped, they turned their head, and so on before they left.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of like the strategy I would recommend is like, go backwards. That's always really important and go as well go forward. Sometimes people are like, "Well, he acted weird, but then he did that." So you have to look at the full picture to get a better understanding of what's happening and the sequence of events so that eventually you can learn. Like, I always go, "Well, my dog would never leave me." Is that because my dogs are so well behaved? No, Zaina. She would leave me in a heartbeat. It's because I she she will be looking right in my face with 2 eyeballs, looking eyeball to eyeball into my eyeballs, and I can tell when she's thinking about something else, right? And I'm like I look at her, I'm like, "Don't even, just don't." So I nip it in the bud so early because I have learned over time to
To
read the
recognize.
signs.
Yeah.
Like in her case, when her nose is going all the way over to the right or all the way over to the left, or when her ears going like way back on her head, that she's looking at me because she knows that's the correct behavior, but she is thinking about something else.
Yeah.
So so did I figure that out immediately? No, trial and error, right? Drawing some incorrect conclusions, making some mistakes. Oh, whoopsie, she's gone. Guess I didn't read that fast enough. Um, but I think the starting point, and I am going to have a bunch of my students work on this, is I'm going to give them the assignment to just separately in a session work on reading their dog. So like what Stacy said, which was a really good point, is like take a room, there's no odor in it, send your dog in there to search for it. Now, there may be a little nuance that I'm not saying correctly. I'm just saying for general purposes. And watch how the dog searches. And then I'm gonna do it again. This is what I'm gonna do with my dog. Could be wrong. I'm sure people will be critiquing me for this, but then I'm gonna do the same room and I'm gonna put a hide in there and I should see a difference. And my whole goal on that is for me personally to observe my dog and to learn what does my dog look like when there's no odor in the room and what does my dog look like when there is odor in the room. Am I going to learn it from one trial? Hell no. Am I going to have to do it a whole lot? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But it's a start, and again, the point is I'm going to isolate out that I am just working on reading my dog. And then, because, God forbid I save my money and retire someday. Why would I do that? I went out and bought a GoPro so that I can film my searches when he's doing them. And then I can go back and watch and I can separately just work on reading the dog, right? Like, I'm not gonna look at, "Oh, look, he found the search," or, "Oh" no, I'm just gonna look at his body language and start collecting data for myself on this specific dog. right? And that's where I think people need to start with quote unquote reading the dog.
Yeah. Yeah, because it really needs to be, because you do have to treat it like a skill and you need to really isolate it. You can't, like with everything else, learning something new, you can't be doing it simultaneously while you're doing other things. It's kind of like the, pat your head, rub your stomach kind of tummy kind of thing. It's too
I know,
difficult.
why is that so hard? It's really
Very hard.
hard.
Very hard, very
Very
hard.
hard.
It's just really like like your brain
Mhm.
multitasking and, can you run the multitasking efficiently across the board with all the things you're doing?
No, you
Unless
can't.
unless you're like a brainiac about it.
Well, and that's the other thing we talked about is the importance of putting as many other skills as possible on autopilot,
Yep,
right? So we talked about he says, I memorized my footwork because I told him he had to. So he didn't need to think about that in the ring,
yep,
right? And I'm always talking to people about the importance of standardizing their handling
yeah,
so that it's the same every time. Why? So they don't need to think about. I'm trying
right,
to like clear space in your brain, right? You can't read your dog if your brain is cluttered by basic tasks. If you're
right,
thinking about your footwork and your handling and your marking and there's no room. So those things should all be on autopilot. Like when I go in the ring, everything is on autopilot. Therefore, I can think about reading my dog and reacting.
right.
So he said like he has certain things on autopilot. He goes, but then I'm thinking about where to go and this and that. So we talked
Yeah,
about that. I said, well, you shouldn't have to. You know ahead of time with most sports, not nosework, but again, we talked about like you know where things are going to be, so you have a strategy. So you should stand outside the ring and decide I'm going to enter the ring this way. I'm going to put my leash here. I'm going to go in this direction to set my dog up at this spot. Then when exercise is finished, I'm going to do this with my dog. So like your ring entrance should be standardized, your transitions, your setups, how you're gonna get from point A to point B, you can determine all that, like, outside the ring. So
yep,
all that should be done because you should not like, ideally, you are not thinking about that stuff in the ring or in the moment, because if you are, you cannot read your dog. You
right,
can't.
right,
And I think that's part of my problem right now as well with nose work. I find is I'm thinking about other things and that is interfering, right?
right.
Like,
And that comes with you're new to it. You're new to the sport,
mhm,
and that needs to be said because I think there can be a level of frustration with people who are like, like they can't get it. They can't do it. Like you need to give yourself time. It's just with everything else, mastering one thing at a time, which we talked about too. Taking that one thing, like you said to Carl, master this. Thou master this, right? So you have to isolate all those things and master them before you can do all of them at the same time, right? Without
right.
consciously having to think about it.
Mhm.
So that's your goal. Like anyone starting out doing any sort of sport, obviously, you're not going to be at that. You're going to have some of that junk in even if you start trialing, like that's just gained from the conscientious effort of mastering everything one at a time until you get to that point after experience and experience and experience that you can go in the ring and be able to do all of that without even thinking about it.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, because I'm new, right? So I'm like in this school, in a hallway. My dog's never been in a school, right? In a hallway because they stage you.
Yeah.
Well, my dogs have never staged. Like, yeah, they wait for their turn in obedience, but it's like a set routine, right? So when I do nose work, like I go for my lessons or I train, but it's kind, my dog hasn't done that whole staging thing. So but so what's the point? I'm sitting there like, is my dog even gonna know what to do? Like, I don't even know if he's gonna know what to do. Like, is he gonna like just think we're out? Like, oh,
So,
cool. Like, we're just gonna run around. Like, how does he even know? And then I'm like, okay. And I don't know the strategy. I'm like, well, I know it's Nosework 1. Should I just let him like run and see if he finds it, or do I guide him because he does better if I guide him? But like I don't know the best strategy. Like I don't know, so all these things are running through my head, and that's a normal beginner
yep,
experience, right? So the good thing is I became aware of what I was doing, and some of it I was able to mitigate. So that his Zesty's first search was exterior. I was like, "Oh, crap." Because my dogs are starting this as adult dogs. My dogs off leash hike, as we all know. So they see big, wide open outdoors and they're like, yes. And I'm like, no, we're doing sniffy stuff. So I've had to work really hard on that. But I still get a little nervous, like, oh God, I hope he knows he's searching and doesn't just run amok or like decide to pee on something. Right. Has he? And like, no, but I'm like, what is this shit, right? And because we haven't developed that experience, that trust, and this is on me, right? So I completely might overmanaged his search, and like I know I did. Like even in the moment, at some point, he's looking at my hand, and I'm like, oh god, like I must be acting like a lunatic because like he's like, what the fuck are you doing?
oh my god.
And I'm like, "Get it together, stop it." And then he does the fine, whatever. I go to my car, I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, just stop it. Like, just stop the madness." And then I got it together, right? Because at least I have enough experience that I recognize when I'm going off the rails. Most people don't even recognize when they're going off the rails. So
Yeah, right.
recognize that you're going off the rails, fix
So
it, and what's gonna happen is the more trials I do, like, and the more dogs I get, I'm gonna have the experience to build on, and those things
yes,
are gonna get easier and they're gonna get better, right? So,
yeah,
it's just like you said, like, we have to give ourselves grace, and we have to just say, "Okay, we need to keep improving on this." So, I leave and I say to myself always, "Alright, what are all the things I need to improve upon?" Right? What are all the things I could have done better? Some things I don't know, so that I ordered the videos because you could order them because I wanna look at it, and I wanna look at it with my trainer, and I want my trainer to say, "Well, I would have done it this way," or, "You could have done this better," or, "Maybe I would have done this." Or she might say, "In this situation with this dog, even though maybe it was a slower option, that's how I would have done it." But that's the only way you're gonna learn,
yeah,
right? Is so I'm not beating myself up for acting like a knucklehead, like, I kinda laughed at myself. I was like, "Oh my god, like, what the hell?" Um, and, yeah, I wish I would have done it better, but whatever, onward and upward, like, I'm gonna learn from that,
yeah,
and I'm gonna get better as I go on because I'm gonna just keep trying to improve. So that's what we should be looking to do, right? Is trying to be better. And yeah, I'm probably not reading him or her as well as I should be. Like because I'm thinking about other things, which is kind of a really weird feeling for me because I haven't done that for a very long time in other sports.
yeah,
So now that I'm starting something new, I'm like, "Oh my god, like, what are you even doing? Like, why are you thinking, oh, maybe the hide could be there? That's not your job. That's the dog's job." Like, what
yeah, yeah.
like,
Well, it's kinda
so
nice because it is like yeah, it's like bringing you to the level that you haven't been in a long, long time of being in something that you're not really you haven't mastered yet, right?
right.
So, it's kinda nice for our, like, listeners and your students because now there's a little bit of a even playing field,
Oh, no, totally, because I'm
you
just
know?
like, yeah, I
'Cause
like,
it's
I
uncomfortable, like, that it's like like, when my girls were younger, they'd be like, "Oh my god, you need to do this dance with us." And I'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm not doing that. I can't. I'm so bad at, like, learning choreography. I'm like an idiot." And they're like, "No, no, no, no. It's so easy." And I if it was horrible feeling because I couldn't it took me what because everybody's different in learning and
Mhm.
mastering on their own, timeline. It took me way longer than those 2. Those 2 could, like, watch it on the TV and have it down pat in, like, one time. And I
Mhm.
was like, "I can't even do the first 3 steps." It took me freaking forever. And it was, like, uncomfortable. It was messy. And that's what it feels like when you're not fluent and have any mastery on a skill. It's just kind of but you strive because you care and you have goals and you want to get better at something.
Well, that's the thing, like, I always just wanna be better at reading my dog, right? So it's
Yeah,
not a matter of, like, "Oh, I'm not happy because" like, "Look, you should be happy your dog's qualified." Well, I am, but I wanna be better, and I know that that journey starts now, right? Like, I
yeah,
can't just be like, "Oh, I qualified, yay for me, on to 2." Well, no, it's gonna keep getting harder,
yeah,
and my job is gonna get harder as the dog's job gets harder, and so at each level, I should be striving to learn as much as I can and
mhm,
to continue to improve, like managing the leash and like which I'm not that great at. Zaina will tell you that because she gets so annoyed with me. She's like, dude, you got it stuck under my leg again. Right? Like all that stuff. And I see, I'm a weirdo. Like, I love that I am like a knucklehead right now. Like, because I like the challenge. Like, sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, "Ugh, I don't know what to do." And then I go to my instructor and I know she looks at me like sometimes like I'm crazy. Like, dude, like you're getting yourself all in a twist and you're talking about a search that was like really challenging and your dog will get better at it over time. Like, yeah, but I didn't know how to help him and I didn't know what to do. And she'll figure me out eventually. She'll realize that it's just that I want to be better
yep,
because I want to be the best possible teammate
mhm,
for my dog,
yep,
right?
that's important to say that, yep,
Yeah, that's the goal is like my dog's doing their job. Like I need to do mine. Like it is a team sport. And that's
yeah,
why I do get frustrated with people with reading their dog. It's not that I get frustrated that they're struggling with it. It's that I get frustrated if they're not trying to improve at
yeah,
it because it's not fair to the dog, right?
exactly.
And if you don't most dogs like Zaina one time, I she found a hide and I don't know, for some reason, I was like at the very beginning in a lesson and I don't know for whatever reason I forgot it was there. I thought it was somewhere else. And I'm like so I just stood there like a moron and I'm like looking at the instructor like, "Wait, it's there?" And Zaina's like, "Rah, rah, rah," and she, like, paws at where it is, and she looks at me like, "Dumbass, I said it's right there." I'm like, "Alright, I'm sorry, here's your cookie," and we move on, right? The problem is most dogs, if would b then start to go, "Oh, shoot," they'll get upset, they'll second
Yeah,
guess themselves, they'll get worried, they'll get nervous, they'll lose confidence, any number of things, right? Most dogs are not like Zaina. So therefore, I'm creating a problem because I'm not doing my job.
yep,
So that's why, and like with Zesty, Zesty does get insecure. He does get worried. He does get unsure. He does sometimes get overwhelmed. So, and I figured some of that out, like, the hard way, like, after he displayed the same behavior many, many times, and I'm like, "Oh, Jesus, buddy, I'm sorry, I've been misreading this, like, a whole bunch of times, and I feel terrible." So, that should be our motivator
yeah,
to take this extra time to learn how to read our dogs better, to analyze the data and so on, because it's our job as our teammate.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. 100%.
All right. So I think that's a good place to stop.
I
I
think so
think
too.
maybe the next episode we can talk about some specific behaviors and
Yeah, and
ways to analyze them and
scenarios.
so
Yep.
on.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good place for people to start. I know it's where I'm going to start, where I've started personally, and where I told Carl to start and where I'm gonna tell some of my students to start. And I'm also hopeful over time, maybe with some feedback from different students, I'd like to start coming up with kind of like a formula for like to help people follow so that they can learn to read their dog better.
Yeah.
I don't know, did that even make sense what I just said? This is me, like, still, like, in the, like, beginner stages of just, like, trying to figure it out.
I love it. I think it's great.
Disjointed. Okay.
Alright, good. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.